This week's video is a reflection on my clinical experience so far this semester, as well as maybe a little bit of reflection on conflict resolution within my clinical practice, and maybe a little bit about research at the end. So to begin, when I look back on the semester of my clinical experience rotation, I've definitely grown a lot. So naturally I've grown as a student, I've grown as a clinician, which I am proud of, and I've grown as a person. The biggest thing that I think that has changed in my clinical practice is my attitude. My attitude when I talk to patients, my attitude when talking to the administration and the coaches, my attitude about work itself, and how I approach it. I remember at the beginning, towards the end of summer, when I really started integrating myself into the high school a lot, I kind of had a bad attitude and I didn't really realize it. And this kind of goes into the conflict part of conflict resolution, is that I didn't have an athletic training room. I didn't really have any supplies. I didn't have even my own space. I didn't have a file cabinet. I had nothing. I don't even have access to the building. So I think I took that, and I think I was set on at least having the basic needs like everyone around me seemed to have. And when I didn't get it, I was just kind of like made that as my excuse to not really look forward to work, or think about my limitations and use those limitations, instead of thinking outside the box, or being creative, making myself a better clinician. It's funny how I think I may not be the only one. You think that the best clinicians are the ones that have the cool athletic training rooms with all the supplies they need, and administration and coaches on their side, and great relationships, and like you look at them and you're like, wow, they must be such a good clinician because they have all of that and they've obtained all of that. And it really challenged me to realize that that doesn't make a good clinician. It's how I deal with my limitations that I've been given, and how I overcome those limitations. And that's how I really learned a lot about who I am and how I approach my clinical practice. So speaking of conflict resolution, not having the athletic training room, as well as having rules that restricted me on when I could see patients, which still is a restriction in many ways, but I've started to try to work around it. I took this to my athletic director. I was like, look, these are problems. Like, I already accepted, the athletic training room limitation, and I know that, we can work on it, or it'll take a long time. But now you're restricting me on when I can see patients, and, I was very frustrated, and I don't think I went to him with the right attitude. I was very frustrated, and I know that my frustration showed. Sometimes I tell myself that I had the right to be frustrated, which I think I do, but I should have gone about starting the conversation with a different attitude. And so I think he sensed the hostility, and therefore he did not receive my conflict well. And so it ended up in an argument, and I think there were hurt feelings involved. And then he took it straight to my supervisor, because he seems to have this open line of communication with my supervisor. And they had their meeting, but nothing got said. Nothing was ever mentioned of it again. I had formally apologized, and there was no mention of that he actually received my apology. So it was just like, it was one of those things where everything, just like in the materials, the conflict never, like the materials mentioned, conflicts sometimes don't even get resolved. Like, it takes like a few weeks and you just don't talk about it. And now it's resolved because nobody says anything about it. So it wasn't resolved. And so it really showed, the materials I read really showed me, how just slight differences in personalities and beliefs and values can really alter how conflict resolution discussions go. And that's why, you have to keep an open mind when you approach those kind of conversations. And I think it helps when you really know that person and understand their personality or where they might be coming from in the conversation before you even started. So it's really taught me a lot. A little bit about research. Research is frustrating. I'm sure you've probably heard that answer multiple times. I think the most frustrating thing about research for me right now is I think that I have a decent research idea and I'm doing decent research and writing decent sections of proposals, and bam, there's something that I'm missing, or something's not significant really, or there's always something to add. And so it just feels like, I don't know, like a snowball effect. Like everything that I need to do, it just keeps, there's more and more and more, even though I think that I'm accomplishing more and more and more, if that makes sense. It's just, it seems like it's a never-ending cycle, but I know it will end soon. My plan is to start corrections on the proposal that I've received feedback on so far this week, and have those done by Sunday, so that the next section that I get feedback on, I'll already be right on top of it and I won't be behind. So that is my plan of attack for the research. Excuse me. But yeah, I do enjoy research in many ways. I enjoy learning about things. I think it's the writing that I don't enjoy as much, which is probably a very common thing for people to say as well. But anyways, I enjoyed this reflection, and I hope you did as well. Thank you.